2D2.
We're in Matthew chapter 8, starting in 14. And when Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying sick with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she rose and began to serve him. That evening they brought to him many who were oppressed by demons, and he cast out the spirits with a word, and he healed all who were sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet Isaiah. He took our illnesses and bore our diseases. Stop there. I know it's a short few verses, but let's go back and follow some things here. So he left this other dude, right?
Mm-hmm. Centurion.
The centurion, and it comes into so Jesus just did a remote healing, right? We call that telehealing.
Yes.
Telehealing. So just like a modern day telemed.
Mm-hmm.
And comes in and enters Peter's house. And I'm assuming when he says he saw his mother, he's still being Jesus. So Jesus saw his mother-in-law, no, Peter's mother-in-law, if I can get that right?
Mm-hmm.
With a fever. So, and what did he do? He touched her, bam, and she got better. And what was the first thing she did?
Waited on him.
Waited on him, served him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You find that odd?
Not really. That culture was.
Yeah,
That's what the culture was. I mean,
it
women,
was. I was thinking that wouldn't they be recording how she was grateful and worshipped at his feet or anything like that? Do we not do that when people are saved? They're ultimately healed. We expect them to just go into worship, but the true worship is service. It seems a bit.
yeah.
When I first look at it, I go, that's odd.
It seems a little odd now that you put it that way, but
the reality is that's what service is.
yeah, I mean, I think it's you know I think then again let's say this. I mean, we know not when we read the Word of God, not everything's in. I mean, we don't know what she might have said. Oh, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So who knows? But the thing is, and I look at it this way: her form of worship was serving him in a sense. And that's her gratitude.
Right.
I mean, someone does something nice for you. So I know what. I get it, but we're not. Maybe something's not in there. It's, she got up and how great you are, this and that, and that's not in there. But I think it's. I never thought about it from that point of view. But in the end, her gratitude was to serve him.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing is, too, is that Peter didn't ask Jesus to heal his mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what that was all about. It may have been, the relationship between Peter and his mother-in-law.
We're not doing any mother-in-law jokes here.
That's the true miracle. That's the true miracle. Peter allowed him in the house to do this miracle. That's what I was kind of wondering. That's the true miracle there, brother. But
no, but that's, it is kind of interesting because it's like, Peter doesn't say, Jesus, my mother-in-law's sick. Would you, no, Jesus sees her, laying there and,
well, you know what? You mean, again, when y'all say stuff, dude, why? Is it because they said, well, she's just sick. She'll get over it in time. We don't need.
Well,
think about that for a second. Should we bring all our scripture says bring all our concerns to the Lord, whether it's the small or the big. This is another one. Maybe don't, like when I said keep the kids away from him. Jesus says, no, bring them to me. Mm-hmm. I guess in a roundabout way was this is a small thing. Why bother him with this? Mm-hmm. I never. There's a lot more to it then.
Yeah. Steve, were you about to say something?
Yeah, Steve.
It made me remember also about Jesus deal with the 10 lepers and only the one who gave specific demons came back and thanked him.
Yeah.
Is that a story?
Yeah.
yes.
That's true.
So obviously she was fever enough where it was noticeable,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're not talking, where you have to go to a checkpoint and get your fever checked. It was a noticeable fever. So, okay. And so that evening they brought to him, what else?
A demon-possessed person.
So he's at a house, which I assume was a place where he was going to rest.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. as far as what I can tell. Oppressed by demons. Do you have a different wording than oppressed by demons?
Demon possessed.
Okay.
And they brought him many.
Yeah.
See, that's the key. Now you're right, not one. Many demon possessed.
Right.
That's you're right. He wasn't getting no rest.
And he cast out spirits with the word and healed all who were sick. Particularly, I guess, if you keep it in context, when there was an ailment, a physical ailment, that they didn't know, oftentimes it would be demon possession, a God punishment, something related in a spiritual matter. If they especially didn't know the reason, unlike having like a stick through the side of your head, you can obviously tell you got a stick inside your head. But so whether or not these were actual demonic healing or not, whether he literally healed what they had, epilepsy or an infection or some biological thing, it doesn't really matter. To me, I think the point of the scripture is that he took the time to heal them, and that the net result was healing and not what the symptoms or what it was. Because I firmly believe that God can heal all things.
Yes.
Whether it be demon possession or a physical ailment. With that.
I think one of the interesting things is it does distinguish here, though, that those who were demon possessed, he cast out the spirit with a word.
With a word, right?
And healed all who were ill, right? So, I mean, my assumption is that those that were truly demon possessed, that there was a demonic possession, he spoke to the demon and the demon was gone. But those who truly had a physical healing, I mean, Jesus generally would touch them, right? Just like he did with Peter's mother here, where he touched her, and then and the fever left her, and she was able to get up and.
Now, this is interesting, especially with the culture. What's so important about the touching, especially with the leprosy and things?
Yeah.
Jesus was showing his authority,
Right.
Because I can touch you, and I'm not even worried about getting leprosy,
Right.
Because I am
Exactly.
God.
Right.
So that's what's so important about the touching, because and especially in their culture. When
Right.
Jesus did that, it blew them away. He said, "What are you doing touching a leper?"
Right.
So that really showed his authority.
Right.
So, and you're right, the touching was so, and that's what a lot of people, you got to know their culture, what was going on. That's what even to this day blows me away. Think about it now. We got this virus going around. And as a Christian, we have to live by faith. And I'm not saying you jump into a cesspool but we should not be so concerned with, I'm not going to have a relationship with people. That's a demonstration of fear.
But you also want to think, I mean, couldn't Jesus have spoken to the infirmity?
Yeah.
And
easy.
said, fever be gone,
Yes.
or whatever. But there was something about the physical touch, that physical, whether it was transfer of power, healing power, or whatever it was. But there was something about that, that physical touch.
You remember with the blind man, he rolled up mud and put on his eyes.
Right.
That's what I was just thinking,
Yeah.
Steve. Yeah.
And in Mark, in that story, he says that he spit
Yes.
to make the mud.
Right.
Ew.
Now you remember this. Now this is what's even cool. I think the story you're talking about was done on Sabbath.
Oh,
Actually, what Christ did when he spit to make mud, supposedly they had progressed the law so much that if you did that, that was a form of work.
Right.
So he was showing, well, I'm Lord of the Sabbath. I'm going to do this to heal him. Now, what you going to say about it? It's so cool, all these little nuances about miracles, what he did. There's more to it than meets the eye. It was him showing his authority of who he was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we get into the next verse,
Okay.
which says this was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet Isaiah. So what was being fulfilled?
I went back to Isaiah and actually read the whole chapter. It's
53?
It's the best,
Yeah.
one of the best chapters in the whole Bible, I would say. And I tell you what, and I thought about what you just said, and then I thought that the opposite of what people have done to this verse today.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
They have made it nothing to what it is.
Yeah, because there's an implication here I think by many people, that this is talking about our illnesses as far as physical, and our diseases and stuff like that. And I know why they get that. If hey Steve, can you go to Isaiah 53? Yeah, I want you to read read 4 and read 5.
Okay. He is born our grief, carried our sorrows, yet we esteem him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed.
And so, oftentimes, the phrasing, by his wounds we are healed, is used to say, see, this is where God can heal us, because he's in the healing business. I'm not going to deny that God is or is not in the healing business. What I'm going to say is, that's taking Scripture out of context.
Way out of context.
Because this Scripture here was about atonement.
Yes.
Okay, about him coming to do his work, which was his death and burial and resurrection. Sorry, I used your phrase there.
That's all right. I like it. DBR. That
That's
DBR, you hit the nail on the head.
And that's what it is. So we got to be very careful when we talk to people about this, that this verse, as much as I would love for it to be about healing our physical bodies, is not about healing our physical bodies. This is about healing our disease that we have as our sin disease.
And I think that's why everybody looks at this verse. You need to go back to Isaiah and read it in context, and you get a whole new meaning on this. And you're right. That's we have perverted that verse there.
Right.
Because can God heal? Yes, but that verse has nothing to do in a sense with that.
Hey, Steve, I need another Bible reference. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 24 is what I wrote down here.
He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. By his wounds we have been healed.
Yeah.
Again, about atonement,
Yes.
and not about physical healing or our infirmities. Again, I am not undermining the question, can Jesus heal today? Yeah, I believe so, but I don't think that's tied into our salvation, if I can say it that way.
No, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. It's not.
yeah. God's healing power is sovereign.
And again, this verse by Peter. Peter was a law-abiding Jew before Christ. He knew Isaiah, so he knew what this scripture meant.
Right.
And the reference, what he's saying, is all about our sin, our iniquity. Don't tie in. Unfortunately, when you start tying in works like miracles with salvation, be very careful, because signs and wonders can mislead you. Because the other side can do a lot of signs and wonders too. Mm-hmm. That's why we live by faith.
I think, though, that we can't do the proverbial throw the baby out with the bathwater, though.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, this scripture reference was placed in an area where Jesus healed.
Yeah.
Right? So, as I completely agree with you that we can't put together salvation and healing in that because we are saved and
Therefore, we can be healed.
that we are, yes,
Yeah.
then we will be healed.
Will
Well,
be healed.
right.
Right.
I don't think that you can make that assumption or that jump. But at the same time, I mean, Jesus does heal.
He does.
Right? And that's why this is placed where it is placed at a time when he did healing, physical healing as well as emotional, probably emotional and spiritual healing.
Yeah.
At one time throughout this whole portion of this.
You know what? And you're right.
chapter.
Sometimes we got to remember is now and then, this scripture, what was Christ doing? If you look at, you're right, all the prophecies about the Messiah, one of his showing of authority was healing and all. So I think you're right now. And then that can be a flip side. Many people ask today, God can heal, and he does, but he chooses, and they're not as prevalent as it was back then. He said he healed everyone.
Right.
That doesn't happen today.
Right.
Now, why? And I think you hit the nail on the head. There's a difference between then and now. He has come. He has presented himself. He's shown his authority, death, burial, and resurrection.
Right.
Now, that is to me, like with anything, there's a transition.
Right.
So I think yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's, does he heal every request for healing now? I don't think we can make that assumption. I don't think that's true. Because if it is, then there's then you start questioning a lot of people's salvation, right?
Exactly.
Right, if that's the case. But like I said, I don't think that you can completely throw it out. I think because God does heal through his grace and his mercy, there is healing that takes place. So,
Yeah.
and I think we can't go to one extreme over the other, if you know what I mean.
Well,
Yeah.
and again, Christ healed everyone. The scriptures,
Yes.
we even went up to that's what I'm confirming your point. Think
Yes.
about that now. So what's the difference? Has to be there's something has changed since the resurrection.
And I think the answer into that is at the first of this verse, this was to fulfill,
Yes.
is what this was about.
And what was he fulfilling? His messiahship.
Right.
Good
That he
point.
was
The
Messiah.
atonement, right.
Yes. And
Right.
his messiahship. I mean,
Right, exactly, all of that.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So that, I think you're right. I think you keep
Right.
everything in context.
Right.
It's so important.
Because this phrase, this was to, is the phrase for this is completed. Okay? In other words, he's doing this
Yes,
to
yeah,
complete
yeah.
the fulfillment. He's fulfilled. Okay? Which is the implication is that this isn't an ongoing thing, but rather what he's doing right now is fulfilling what Isaiah has prophesied. He healed our wounds and our infirmities and stuff like that.
Now, what was it? To add to your point, what was the total fulfillment?
Death, burial, resurrection.
There you go. That was the bookend right
Right,
there.
right. He's
You're
got to
right.
fulfill all of these.
Yes.
I can't help but keep thinking of the phrase or the verse that I've not come to remove the law or something like that, but to fulfill the law. Okay, it's that, and I'm probably just butchered that in there, but I keep thinking that keeps coming back to me every time I think of the word fulfilled here. It's all of this is being fulfilled, and that's the story that we're being revealed by Matthew is his fulfilling of what the prophecy. May I say it this way: this is giving him the authority. This is putting background or underscoring his authority, and not just some schmo
No,
that
that's
has
right.
the magic powder that heals people,
Right.
like blowing aspirin on somebody and all of a sudden get a fever gone or something
Right.
with it. Anything else on this? Steve, I know you just want to say something. Hey, Steve, you still there?
Looks like he's frozen.
He's frozen. He's
Is he trying to get back in? No.
Steve, are you frozen? It looks like Steve is.
Steve, you woke up.
Oh, he's in a heavy, deep sleep over there.
I thought he hadn't moved in a while, so. Want to make sure.
He was.
Yep.
You know what? And that's the way I just. Yeah, and then, I like to go back
Hey,
to
Steve.
Isaiah and
Yeah, you were frozen on this end.
you frozen.
You went into freeze
Almost.
mode.
I was just sitting very still.
Yeah.
But you had stopped breathing.
Yeah.
I think one of the things too is just where this placement is and where this first part of chapter 8 is broken up.
Yeah.
It's kind of takes away from that statement because it's that verse 17 is all factored into that one breakout portion of Peter's mother-in-law being healed, and we forget the whole rest of the beginning of chapter 8 where where he heals a leper and then heals the centurion,
servant,
and
right.
that's all factored into
Yeah.
to that statement that was
Right.
that was read there. Where,
Yeah, this wasn't the mother-in-law.
Right.
Was for the mother-in-law.
or the mother-in-law, or
healing
even the rest of
those
the-
people
yes.
in that house, right?
Right. It was
Yeah.
that whole,
Everything up above.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with it.
I think we've said before, sometimes that breaking up of chapters like that.
It can be very misleading.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, I think, like you said, I think it's a combination. I mean, we got to take everything in time.
Right.
And like you said, Mickey, you're right. I think this is and that's what I get. I guess frustrated watching certain things because Christ healed, and it says it, everyone.
Right.
Why was Christ healing everyone? Because that was one of them. If you go to the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God said, when you see the Messiah come, he will do this. And it was culminated at the cross. You know, and I stress this. Can God heal today? Yes. But does he heal everybody today? No. And the scary thing, and this is why I see people manipulate the scripture when they say, well, he doesn't heal because you didn't have enough faith.
Right.
So now we're tied in faith into miracles when we're only
Right.
should.
Right.
Because that day has passed. Because that was, you made me look at it a little different again because of what you said.
Yeah. There's a visual image of a misconception here is that, you know, those games at like a Chuck E. Cheese or those kinds of games where you drop money into the coin slot and a little claw comes out and you pick and you grab and you may or may not grab something. I think that's what people try to treat Jesus as, is the kind of healing you're going to get or the kind of benefit or blessing. And we just got to put in the coins because that machine can't help but do exactly what it was designed to do. You
Right.
drop a coin in, that thing's going to go and do it.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what we treat God as just we just drop a coin in him, and he has no choice, no choice whatsoever but to do that, to heal to heal me. And that, I think that's a huge misunderstanding of God's sovereignty and his work on earth.
Yeah, and once again goes back to the fact that, you know, many people have the perception that they can manipulate God
Right.
through prayer or whatever it is.
Right.
Yes.
You know, that if I pray hard enough, God has to move.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and because we take away the whole idea of the sovereignty of God.
Right.
Yes.
Everything is now back on us.
Yes.
You know, and us being in control.
Right.
You know, when when you're in that position, you really have to look at your salvation. You know, because your salvation is based on you giving up complete control and understanding that he is completely sovereign. You know, and that, everything that we have, everything that we do is completely dependent upon him and not on anything that we do.
Now, I got a question. And you made me think of it. Why do we put so much emphasis on the here and now with health and this and that? Because of the unknown of the next life. What's the truth? The next life is really the truth. In a sense,
Right.
this is almost like all a lie. This is our way of emphasizing today, here and now.
Oh, sure.
Where our faith is, our blessed hope is then. You see, I think that's part of what we get so into this dimension in a sense.
Yes.
And we lose the fact that we're ambassadors. We're not. This is not our home.
Right.
But we get so focused on this being our home that you're right. We start to manipulate God, or try to manipulate, thinking we can manipulate God.
Right.
That's a mind-boggling thing when you think.
Well, it's the whole idea of, what did Paul say? The reason to live a longer life, right?
Yeah.
The reason to live a longer life is not simply to live a longer life on the earth. As believers, the reason to live a longer life is to be a witness for a longer period of time, to fulfill a longer period of time, to have a longer period of time to fulfill what Christ wants us to do, right?
Right.
If not, the best thing to do is to go home,
Right.
But
Which is the better choice.
which is the better choice, right? That's what Paul said.
We tend to hold on tight.
Yes.
Yes, exactly, Steve.
But the older we get, the more it starts sounding on us that this is all pleasing
Right.
Yes.
Agreed.
in our spirit that being with Christ.
Yes.
Right. And that's something, and that's what, I think sometimes we lose the fact that that's our faith.
Yeah.
We lose that. And
Lose focus.
we and as we get older, Steve, I found that I have to refocus, because as you get closer, your time is shorter, especially when in my operations, I wonder if this is going to be the last one as far as not waking up. And it makes you reflect. It really does. I had to refocus because I was getting on the other end a little bit.
Right.
Something to think about.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, we're going to stop here.